Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's DealerOn webinar, How to Reduce Your Online Time to Market from Concept to Results. My name is Eliana Raggio, and I'll be your moderator today. And today's webinar is being presented by DealerOn. For anyone who isn't familiar with DealerOn, well, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency, best known for our amazing SEO, the best customer service, and the highest converting website designs in the industry, including the award-winning Chameleon responsive website platform. When we got back from NADA in January, we were awarded the Driving Sales Dealer Satisfaction Award for top-rated websites for an unprecedented 6th year in a row. We also took home the AWA Award for best websites, plus FCA announced that we're now an approved vendor. Big things are happening over here at DealerOn this year. We're still the only company in the industry that offers a money-back lead guarantee program. Do you want to know more? Yeah, you do. You can check us out at DealerOn.com. By the way, I have the honor of emceeing the 3rd Annual Women in Automotive Conference. This amazing event is July 9th through the 11th in Orlando, Florida, and we're going to be focusing on training and retaining women in our industry to improve their skills and advance their careers and find the highest levels of success. If you want to make your way to Orlando in a couple weeks, actually, it's next week. Well, I'd love to see you. To find out more about Women in Automotive Conference, please visit womeninautomotive.com. Boy, oh boy, I hope to see you there. DealerOn is also headed to Philly, July 10th through the 12th for the 10th Internet Sales 20 Group. And you should too. This year, Greg Gifford is at it again, providing major insights to the world of local SEO for dealers, and he's just one of the 22 powerful speakers that are going to be there. So if you want to learn what's working for top performers in automotive, you can check out is20g.com or internetsales20group.com. We have a great show in store for you today. Oh boy, we are pleased to have Russ Daniels as our presenter today. Russ Daniels is the Senior Product Marketing Manager for HomeNet Automotive, the only provider of a unified platform that helps dealers save time and sell more cars by getting inventory out of your system and in front of online shoppers. Russ has a strong marketing and training background, creating a comprehensive training tradition at HomeNet that is unparalleled. His primary focus over the past few years has been working with our sales team through product training and personal growth workshops. As the Senior Product Marketing Manager, Russ works to understand core business as well as unmet and unrealized market needs. Russ serves as the voice of the customer to understand dealer needs in the effort to discover and deliver product offerings that are valuable, desirable, usable, and feasible. Russ will be speaking at the next Digital Dealer Convention, where he's going to take a deeper dive into this particular topic, so please check him out while in Vegas this September. And in the meantime, Russ can be reached at russ.daniels@homenetauto.com. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature located on the corner of your screen to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, we're going to try to respond by email later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of this webinar recording will also be emailed to you later today for your reference. Feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues. And guess what? Our good friends at HomeNet, they're giving away an awesome prize on today's webinar. One of you lucky webinar attendees is going to win a huge HomeNet swag bag filled with all kinds of HomeNet goodies and souvenirs and tchotchkes, like t-shirts and pens and mouse pads. It's a basket full of HomeNet awesomeness. I wish I was eligible to win this prize. I'm not, but you know what? You are. All you have to do is be on the live broadcast to win it, so stay tuned, and who knows, you could be the one walking away with this awesome prize today. And at the conclusion of this webinar, you're going to get a short survey. It's 3 short questions. We're going to ask you to please fill it out because we're always looking for quality feedback from our audience. And hey, do you tweet much? We hope you do. We'd love to see what you have to say about today's presentation, so tag us in it. You can tag me at Eliana Raggio. You can use hashtag DealerOnWebby. You can also hit up Russ at HomeNet_auto. We look forward to seeing what you're saying. All right, everyone, let's get started. Let's learn about how to reduce your online time to market. Russ Daniels, not the first time you've been here, but oh boy, I love it when you are. Thank you so much for coming back to the show. How are you doing? How's everything at HomeNet?
I'm doing great today, Eliana. Thank you. Everything's going fantastic here at HomeNet and Cox Automotive. Thank you for asking. I'm really glad to be back.
I'm so glad you're here. And I love that you brought this topic to us because this is kind of one of those problems that dealers don't like to admit that they have, but they all have it. They would love to reduce their time to get those cars ready and onto, in front of online shoppers. So thank you for bringing this to us. I feel like this is like a little secret meeting for just those people who would admit that they have this problem. So Russ, I know you have a lot to get to. I'm not going to hold you up any longer. Where do we begin with this online awesomeness that we're going to be doing today?
Yeah, so before I get into the material, just wanted to say one last time, thank you, Eliana, and thank you, DealerOn, for having me back again for what I think is my fourth DealerOn webinar. And, obviously, thank you, everybody that's joined here this morning, this afternoon, depending on where you are. Come to you today, again, with a topic that I'm really passionate about. And throughout today, I hope that, we learn some things and kind of go together on this journey of kind of reducing online time to market. And different from other webinars that I've done, we're going to attack it in two folds. We're going to look at the different areas of merchandising and marketing and the processes to get your vehicles in front of online shoppers and why that's important. I think we understand to a certain degree or to a large degree that these things are important, but just how impactful are these different items of merchandising that we're going to talk about today to actually converting those cars online into leads and sales, obviously. So the impact there and then the results. So how are we going to, first of all, accomplish these things faster, better than we have before, and how are we going to show the results? So when we go back to everybody else at our dealership, we can kind of show this positive impact and this value we're driving. So how I'm going to break that up is into three basic objectives today. And the first thing is I want a baseline level set on understanding the measurement of online time to market. We'll look at that from a couple different things, right? A couple different ways. We're going to look at that from a time perspective. We're going to look at that also from a financial perspective. And we have a good little exercise to kick that off. Then we're going to talk about two core areas of merchandising that I've talked about on previous webinars and we'll continue to talk about in many webinars to come around increasing quality and increasing the impact of capturing really good vehicle photos of your new and your used inventory and also writing those strong, valuable vehicle descriptions around that inventory. And once we kind of understand how to measure it, we understand about the importance of the quality of the merchandising, then we're going to jump right into tactics around increasing quality and decreasing time for fully merchandised online listings. So that's what I hope to accomplish today. And I know a lot of times when you do these talks, you want to kind of break out a story or an analogy to kind of frame the whole thing up. I'm not going to do that today. What we're going to start with today is a little bit of math. It's pretty easy math, but I think what we're going to do here is we're going to frame up maybe some things that we understand, maybe some things we don't understand, but let's keep it easy and let's talk about dollars and time. So what I have here is a basic calculator pulled right out of an Excel spreadsheet and is now editable and can be changed right now within the presentation, which we're going to do in just a minute. But let me walk you through the model really fast. What I'm trying to do overarching is have you think about the inventory that comes into your dealership every month. So when I mean new cars on the lot, that very first variable, I don't mean just new cars, like the 2018 models that are coming in. I mean new to your lot. So that's new cars, also used cars from the auction or from a trade or dealer trade or someone coming in to trade in their car for another vehicle. How many new on the lot cars per month? And then the next variable speaks to merchandising and the time associated to it. So the number of days until vehicle is fully merchandised. So it's got some pictures on it. It's got a description. It's priced. And it's now in front of online shoppers on a website, classified site, all the different places you're advertising. And then we're going to talk about average holding costs per day. And I have the default value here is $40. We brought that out from NADA. But, through me talking with several different dealerships across the country, that's always going to vary. So we're going to switch that up too and look at it in a couple different ways. When you plug in those numbers, what we get is we get two values essentially. We get the monthly holding costs for new to your lot inventory before online advertising. So what type of so let's define holding costs really quick. I'm sure we've heard the term. Wanted to make sure I got kind of your Harvard Business Review definition of what a holding cost is to level set. So holding costs are the costs associated with storing inventory that remains unsold. And these costs are just one component of total inventory costs. So it's a component of inventory costs that goes along with things like ordering costs, transportation, shortage costs. Holding costs is another variable here. So what we're trying to frame up is how much are you incurring in holding costs per month before anybody is even seeing the new to lot inventory that's coming on. So this is just one example that I started out with, and this would be from conversations I've had, kind of your small franchise dealer, right? Not a large one, maybe a medium in certain months, but definitely a small franchise dealer that's bringing 50 new to lot cars on the used car side every single month. It's taking them 10 days to get that car delivered, get it through reconditioning, get pictures, get descriptions, and get that car in front of online shoppers. It's taking them 10 days. I wouldn't call it an average, but that's a scenario that we do see very often. And we'll use the NADA value for holding costs of $40 per day. So when you run that model, you're looking at per month $20,000 in holding costs before anybody sees any of those 50 new to lot cars.
Wow.
And when you look at that on a per car perspective, that's 400 vehicles. So that's just the first example. But what I want to do is I want to run you through one I talked about yesterday with a Ford dealership in the Midwest. And we talked about this model specific to auction inventory. So I'm going to change the model. I'm on another screen here. I'm going to change these numbers and show you what we were talking about. So specific to vehicles he buys at auction, he buys 17 per month. And it takes him 8 days to get that car through reconditioning, fully merchandised and online, a lot closer to the average. I think he's doing pretty well. And in the model he wanted to use $30 per day in average holding costs. So you're going to see the screen update here. Oh, go backwards. Get that off that screen.
Okay.
And there you go. So in just auction inventory, you look through the same, the same example. You look now at just auction new to lot cars, a little bit over $4,000 per month. It's the $50,000 a year, and then you look at $240 eating into that vehicle from each vehicle from a holding cost perspective. So two ways to look at that model. Either way, costs that aren't being maximized. Nobody's seeing these cars online, so you're not getting eyeballs, leads, people into your store. So this is really valuable as we start to frame up time to market and how to reduce that, because inevitably you want to get this online sooner to maximize these holding costs you have on your inventory. But let's not let me just have an example. Let's kind of go out to the audience, Eliana.
Oh.
I would love your input on this. Is there anybody out there that wants to put in the chat just the first three numbers? New to lot cars per month, number of days it's taking you to get it merchandised and online, and the average holding cost number you want to use. And if you aren't sure, we'll use the $40 number. So, Eliana, you want to help me get a volunteer here?
I think that would be a great idea. Now, this is ironic because, we had a few people who wrote in, that's crazy. Yeah, dude, that is crazy. $20,000, you're already $20,000 in the hole. You didn't even get the cars out on the lot yet. That's crazy. Okay, it looks like we already have our first volunteer. His name is Tony. He says 400 new cars per month. He says he calls them fresh cars.
Right.
He says average number of days is 6 days. And he believes his average holding cost per day is $32 per day. And that's from Tony.
Thanks, Tony. And it's really exact numbers. I appreciate that. So I just plugged that into the model.
Okay.
Give it a second to update. And there you go.
Wow.
So high volume store there, Tony. Good. What I'll say is you got a lot of fresh inventory coming in. So, that's a task in itself. A lot of physical assets to be working with. Number of days until merchandising online, that's pretty good. That's really good at 6 days. It's a little under that 7 to 10 day average that we see. Really exact on the holding costs. Still some costs out there though. So you look at a number like that, it's still beneficial, even if you're a high volume store, to drive that down. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So Tony, thanks for volunteering. And just for the sake of moving on, I'm going to move on through this. But anybody wants to shoot an email to me, and I'll send the calculation. You also have it in the PowerPoint that you'll get after the webinar, and happy to talk to anybody about this calculation further.
So I'm just curious. I'm pretty sure you're going to cover this, but I'm just going to be curious. If the average is 7 to 10 days, if we employ these best practices that you're about to tell us about, how much money could could somebody like Tony, for instance, save? Like, could we knock off a couple days from that? And how much does that save us? Like, if
You'll
it
see
instead
that.
of 6 days, if it's 4 days, is that going to save him like $10,000 or something a month?
It'll save him more. It'll save him
Oh,
25.
wow. Wow, that's a lot of money. That's $300,000 a year if we just reduce that time by 2
Off.
days. Wow.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
And there's a
Okay.
couple different levers that we can pull as we go through this to easily get 2 days off that process when it comes to getting those cars online in front of shoppers. 2 days, no sweat.
Okay. All right. Tony wrote back in. He says, we're always looking at our process. He would love to have that calculator. And he says, by the way, that's just our used numbers. So thank you, Tony, for volunteering that. And by the way, Sharpie wrote and he says, I love this webinar already. So let's go. Let's do this. What else you got to tell us?
Yeah, so let's move through and let's start getting a little bit tactical now about what we want to do about this, right? So that was kind of the first section. We understand the measurement now, both from a time perspective and from a financial perspective. Let's now talk about quality, because if I talk about one thing today, I don't want to sacrifice quality as we're kind of reducing that online time to market. I want to make sure we're putting really high quality ads into our marketing for our vehicles. So it starts really with two components. I'm going to talk about them primarily. There's others too. I'll touch on those a little as I go through, but what I want to do is I want to increase quality for photos and vehicle descriptions, and we're going to measure and kind of go through these in two different, I guess, categories. You've got photos and how they're impacting online advertising. Just how much are they? And which photos impact online advertising? I think that's a good question to ask ourselves. And we're going to do something very similar with vehicle descriptions. So let's jump right into photos. So I want to kind of just jump 2 data points out right away to frame up this argument. And this is from very recent study around the power and the impact of pictures done by Cox Automotive. I want to start with the second data point, actually. And that's 9 out of every 10 car shoppers consider photos extremely important when shopping online. So I think that we all know that photos are important to shopping online. Tony was talking about the Prime Day, right, where we had a lot of sales going on Amazon outside of automotive. And you're obviously going to make that purchase decision by doing what? Going online and looking at photographs of that item before you purchase it. So let's kind of table that for a second, because what we want to do is we want to dig a layer deeper about what type of photos and a stock photo versus just a couple photos and what's really driving that extremely important factor with car shoppers. But before I go there, what I want to show you is another thing very, very recent, and it's a growing trend. 40% of consumers are likely to purchase a vehicle based on images they view online without seeing the vehicle in person. That speaks to a little bit more of this digital retailing, starting the transaction online, that trend that we're starting to see with younger car shoppers coming up. So what I'm excited to see over time is the trend of that 40% and where that goes in years to come. But it's important, right? It's important to car shoppers. But just how important is it to our dealership? And when I look at that, you think about lead submissions, right? And so what we did was, what CarStory did in a recent study was they looked at lead submission for vehicles with photos. And 50% higher lead submission rate than those without any images. These were just vehicles with just any amount of photos on them. It was less than 20. It was between about 5 and 10. 50% higher lead submission rate. But then as you go into more photos, you get 56% higher lead conversion rate for vehicles with 20 images, and then just over 70% higher lead submission rate for vehicles with 30 images. That points back to a question that I get a lot when I'm talking to different dealers across the country. Is what's the sweet spot, right, around photos? How many should I be taking? How much time investment should I make? And it's always going to vary by dealership and the resources you have, or if you're using a lot service provider to come out, or if you're doing it yourself. But what we're starting to see is the more you take, you're going to see a better performance from a lead submission perspective, and you're also going to see some increases in terms of VDPs, which is where I want to spend a lot of time talking about when it comes to photos. So 2 tables right here. Want to walk you through the data. This is, again, framing up impact and then how much time you want to be spending capturing photos for this inventory. So if you look at the one on the left, we have 6 scenarios, very common scenarios, in terms of merchandising and marketing and advertising cars online. And let's think specific to pictures. So we separated it between used and CPO increases in VDPs per listing and new car increases in VDPs per listing. So we go through the scenarios here, and the first one is the one we want to avoid, right? I think we know that, and that's stock photos versus no photos at all. So you see, increases in VDPs. It's actually less for stock photos versus no photos. A photo coming soon, or some call to action that more photos are coming. So that's kind of the dark side of the story. Let's get into some of the brighter sides of the story, because it's what we're seeing a lot more year over year with dealerships across the country. And this is multiple photos of the vehicle. So, you're talking your 20 plus, 30 plus, 40 plus images on a vehicle versus no photos at all, a photo coming soon. No surprise here in terms of it doing better in terms of increases in VDPs, but kind of shocking in just how much better it's doing in terms of increases of VDPs. So for used car and CPO, 224% more VDPs for multiple vehicles with multiple photos versus no photos, and 73% more on the new car side. Now we jump into a newer data point that we were looking at, and makes it very interesting for the rest of this presentation around reducing time to market. A single custom photo, so just one real photo of the car versus a stock photo, 220 or 121% more VDP, more increases in VDP for using CPO, and that's 13% on the new car side. So pretty strong. That points back to a topic I talk about all the time. Do we wait for reconditioning to get done? Do I shoot a full set of photos before reconditioning? How does that get handled? And what we're seeing is, if you're just, when that car gets delivered or right before it goes through that reconditioning process, just if you shoot a couple photos of the car, you're going to see positive impact in terms of increases in VDPs for new and used car. Now you get into what I kind of called out specifically, which is the one that has the most impact, and the one I really wanted to talk to you about, because in those 7 to 10 days before that car is fully merchandised and online, a lot of times we're seeing stock photos, and they're really not performing well in terms of increases in VDPs per listing on used car CPO and new car. So 262% more increases in VDPs and 77% increases in VDPs on the new car side. So really staggering, and really kind of tells the story to take those high quality, good set of 20, 30, 40 plus photos on the inventory if you can do it. We'll talk about photo ranges in just a second. Now we want to look at, multiple photos of the car versus a single. So that comes back to a conversation I have on, I've shot 1 or 5 pre-recon photos. Is it really worth going back and taking the time investment to get now a full set of photos on the car? And you can see, indeed it does. So 64% VDP increases on used car and CPO, a little bit over 50 on the new car side. So what I wanted to do is, in the last piece, is bring one other area of merchandising to the process, and that's pricing the inventory. Prices, I'm not going to talk as deeply into price today as we are into photos or vehicle descriptions, but obviously a core, one of the more important pieces of an online listing, obviously dealers want to know or car shoppers want to know what the price is on the inventory. So multiple custom photos with a price versus no price, you see the increases there in terms of VDPs on used and new cars. So thought this information was extremely important for you to align the strategy at your dealership. How much time investment should I take into shooting photos pre-recon and then shooting post, or do I just shoot post-recon? Here's the increases in VDPs for you to help with that. Let's then look on the one on the right here, which is improvement in VDP views over the average listing. So at face value, without walking through this, you look at those 1 to 5 photos, those pre-recon photos, and you see, well, we shouldn't do that. They're getting negative. They're negative improvement. Well, that's over the average listing, which is going to have, your 20 to 30 photos on it, 20 to 35. What isn't on this diagram at all is no photos or stock photos. So if you look at the table on the left, you see how much better the actual photos are. So don't let the average listing confuse you on the right. Shooting 1 to 5 photos is still very valuable because it's going to perform better than a stock photo or no photo at all. You go on now to 6 to 10 photos, which is another kind of your pre-recon before the car is fully ready for the front line. That's a common set of images you're going to take, getting closer to that average listing now. Then you jump ahead into above the average photos per listing, that 20 to 35. You look at 36 to 40 and then over 40. And you see improvement in VDPs start to go in the right direction compared to the average listing. I see a lot of different thoughts on this, a lot of different, white papers published, a lot of different blogs on, hey, 10 photos is going to get the job done. And I think that the answer from where I sit is it's okay. It does better than what a stock photo is going to do or what no photos are going to do. But what you want to do is you want to get that 20 to 30 or more than that if the vehicle warrants that, because I'm looking at the data and I'm seeing positive impact on engagement on the listings, which are going to drive leads, showroom traffic, and obviously sales. So definitely wanted to spend some time to look at this.
I love that you brought these to us because we actually had already, before you even put that slide up, already gotten a few questions and comments from Tony. He said, so will 1 million pictures get me 100%? And then Dan has a question, which I'll save for later, but it does have to do with photos. So keep those questions coming, audience. We're going to be getting to those soon. And look at all these great pictures. Where do we go from here? Are you showing us how many pictures we should have?
Well, this drives down into just the next layer where two things. So which photos do car shoppers want to see in a photo set? And that's different from the order you shoot them in. So these are the two graphics here. So the one on the left is a rank order. We asked car shoppers, what are the shots that they want to see that are going to influence the next step in the buying process? And I think the results here are somewhat surprising, and not in terms of which shots made the list, but the order in which they made them. So look at number 1, kind of the ODOM, the mileage here. And then you go to 2, the dash control panel, and then 3, the cockpit. What does that say if these are the top 3 shots that car shoppers are saying influence us to take the next step? Well, look at the shots themselves. These are right in the driver's side. This is them now imagining themselves, starting to create that experience online of them wanting to be in that car. And the more we can get them immersed in that experience, the more passionate they're going to start to be about moving forward into that unit. As you move through them now, you see a lot of the standard shots that we take. You get into interior, exterior, navigation, if it has that, even trunk space, and then you get down into the console. Those are our top 13. So let's map that now to a recommended set of the order you want to shoot them to maximize your marketing online. So you can almost start to draw that one-to-one comparison, how all 13 shots are in the one to the right. There might be 1 or 2 missing here in the example, but you want to capture those 13 on the left, but integrate them into kind of the standard way of shooting photos and advertising them online, starting with the exterior to really get a look and feel of the vehicle just like you would walking on the lot. Get into the interior, start to see the features that really matter, and then at the end start to get into those technical things or the more detailed pieces around engine, into the shift knob, and that's really the console and the exhaust and things like that. So kind of 2 models, what do they want to see, and how do we want to represent them when we're advertising the car? Thought that was impactful as we start to, again, align strategies about how we're going to go tackle this and still have high quality merchandising. So Eliana, I think I've talked a little bit. I think I just need a quick little break. You want to do a poll question?
I would love to do a poll question. All right, audience, we got 2 poll questions coming your way. First one is on the screen now. We want to know, now, if you need to ask somebody, but we're hoping that you're going to give us an answer to this question. At what point in the life cycle are you capturing photos of your cars? Please select one of the following answers. Is it before reconditioning, during reconditioning, after reconditioning, you don't know, or you know what, we hire another company, they come in and they take the photos and it's really not on us, So we did get a question in about our question. So Russ, help me out here. David wrote in, initial photos or the final product?
Initial photos. Good question, David.
Initial photos. Okay, so at what point in the life cycle are you capturing initial photos of your cars? Before reconditioning, during reconditioning, after reconditioning, you don't know, or you know what, somebody else takes care of that for us and that's on them. Okay, so once we get a majority of the votes in, we're going to close this poll and share the results. Okay, so I have to ask this, I have to say this. When you were showing us that last slide with what the consumer wanted and what dealerships should be taking, I've always thought that, if I'm interested in a car, I pretty much know what the outside of the car looks like. What I probably don't know is what the inside of the car looks like. So I would be really
Right.
interested to see as many, if not more, photos of the inside of the car because I've probably never sat in that car. I'm gonna guess I've never sat in that car if I'm interested in buying a car, that I'm not familiar with.
Right.
So, is there a rule of thumb or best practice with exterior photos compared to the number of interior photos? Should they be even? Or just
I don't think they need to be even. I think that every car kind of tells a different story. I think that where you want to maybe have a little bit more interior shots is if the vehicle warrants it, meaning, what kind of technology is in there? What's the dash look like? What type of cool features inside are going to be there? And maybe a couple, now that the digital displays have more capabilities outside of just navigation, there's streaming, there's news, there's a bunch of different things in there. So if there's more images that warrant interior shots, I say take them.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's, audience, thank you so much for your votes. This is very interesting results. All right. Russ, if you're ready, I'll close this poll and we'll share the results.
Ready?
Okay. And Tony wrote in, funny, like I know what cool is. Because you said cool interior. Okay, never mind. Okay, so here we go. At what point in the life cycle are you capturing photos of your cars? 21% of today's audience say they do it before reconditioning. Only 8% of today's audience say they do it during reconditioning. The majority, however, 58%, say they do it after reconditioning. And then the remaining 13% said, you know what, they hire somebody else to take care of that for us, so they're not really sure.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it aligns with a lot of the conversations that I have. I think one thing that you think about over time is how can we get that 21% before recon to get up closer to, maybe a 50-50 split. That would be something that would be interesting.
Okay, so you're saying that they should be taking the pictures, the initial photos, before reconditioning?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if the unit is not at all ready for it, it does need some work. Obviously, there's those exceptions. But what you want to do is you don't want to let these other parts of the physical life cycle of getting the vehicle ready for the front line to get in the way of your online time to market, because that's really where the journey starts for car shoppers.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that makes sense. All right. I mean, it certainly would save them a lot more money, as we saw in the calculator earlier. All right, Russ, where do we go from here?
Yeah, let's kind of dive deeper now into the vehicle details page. We got the photos. We talked about the importance of photos and price. Now let's bring it into the vehicle description, the seller's notes, or the vehicle comments. They take on, the name of them takes on a variety of different forms, but we're talking about telling the story about the car, writing the story out about it. And I think that just to start is how much do vehicle descriptions impact online advertising, right? And there was a question that was asked, and it was, do vehicle descriptions from dealers have all the info that I need as a car shopper to make a decision on buying a used car? Broke that out in the study by men and women because the answers varied enough. 47% of women said no, 38% of men said no. And to take it a step further, over half of used car listings today don't even have vehicle descriptions online. I have take specific exception to that because with a lot of the technology and where it's going across the space, doesn't matter who you're using for inventory to get their merchandising and out online, there's a way to automatically generate these descriptions. Think about an automatically generated description similar to those pre-recon photos. You can always go back and put your personal touch on it later, but if you're waiting 2-3 days because you have a million other things going on, and that car's online without a vehicle description, you're costing yourself potential opportunities. And the reason I say that is because 26% more car buyers are willing to travel 30+ miles to view a vehicle with custom comments. We got that right off of AutoTrader. So We could do a better job in providing the info that they need. We can do a better job getting the descriptions online. And when we do that, we're going to see increased awareness and increased engagement from our shoppers. So let's take that now into what type of keywords, what types of things are shoppers looking for today in terms of vehicle description. So one of the things coming out of the car story study I referenced earlier was consumers listing condition as the #1 factor when buying a car. And you know, you think that from the consumer's lens, they're not thinking about reconditioning the same way that we are. They're thinking around Carfax, vehicle history, one owner, and if there was any work done to the car, they want to know about that. So you come down to now looking at any type of reconditioning information in comments. When we kind of scraped out the web for the study, 2.4% of comments included some reference of reconditioning information. So it's the #1 factor when buying the car, but we're not seeing that a lot in vehicle description. So something to look at, a best practice to bring into as you're generating vehicle descriptions. Let's take a look at something else quick, and let's look at keywords now. So CDK did a study on this, and I was waiting for something like this to come out because you know, I've always been generally interested in it. What they did was they looked at shopper types and what type of keywords and words within a vehicle description registered as high engagement and low engagement. And they brought that into a variety of different shopper types. Women and Generation X are there. So you see the ones on the women's side that are high and low engagement, and then you look down at Generation X at the high and low there. So one to call out is around Generation X ages 34 to 55. When you think about the high engagement ones, you think about luxury, you think about package. You know, coming into that age group, they're starting to maybe make a little bit more income and start to think about what's that next level vehicle they want to get in. So specifically around package, you think about luxury being one that's a key. With packages, it comes to the BMW dealers out there and your installed option packages, and just how much that drives engagement when somebody's looking for a luxury type of vehicle. Those option packages that are added onto the vehicle really can drive a lot of engagement and really makes for a better listing. And I have a piece on that I'm going to touch on in just a moment. Let's look at a couple more from the shopper type ebook here. Let's look at college grad, probably the closest I'm going to come to talking about millennials in this webinar. Let's just call them college grads. And what was low engagement and what was high engagement there. You look at low company warranty, not a lot of brand loyalty coming from this shopper type. So again, we're not talking about influencing the buying decision. We're talking about the way we're talking about our cars, the way we're talking about our dealership and what's resonating with those shopper types. And then you got parent there as well, and not as many surprises there. I especially call out row because maybe they're looking for a van type of thing and type of vehicle, and how many rows does it have to make sure we can get the whole family in there and get on the summer vacation that I'm sure they're going to be going on over the next couple weeks. So thought that was interesting, wanted to share that with you. And then let's now drill down into a framework. So we understand the importance of vehicle descriptions. We know what kind of keywords we want to look at as we're lining up descriptions to match the inventory that then matches the buyer persona that's out there. So how do we construct it, right? Or if we're having it automatically generated for us through technology, are we hitting on all three of these? And I've talked to, in previous webinars about the 3 Bs of building a vehicle description. So to touch on it on a high level, what you want to do is you want to build a connection. You want to build a connection between the shopper persona and the inventory that you have, that vehicle that you have. Take it a step further, build a connection between them and the dealership, why they would want to do business with you. Then you want to be specific, and that's when you want to talk about why this specific car, not this year, make, model combination, this exact VIN is great. What are the details about that? What type of packages are in there? What type of equipment? What type of miles per gallon? All these different elements specifically to that car that are going to drive a consumer's interest. And then finally, we're going to balance the message. And what I mean by that is you don't want to just hit them with a whole bunch of details, because that's going to apply to a segment of car shoppers, but not every segment. I think everybody needs to know a little bit about the car, but there's a segment of shoppers too that want to know, it hasn't won any awards. Did it get a Kelley Blue Book award? Has it won an IIH Top Safety Pick? Is there any reviews, editorials out there? What's Edmunds saying about it? Is a Kelley Blue Book review on that? And being able to bring that into the vehicle description really rounds it out for a vast majority of your car shoppers, because they want to do business with you. They want to do business with the inventory. They want to know about the inventory, and they want to know about what others are saying about the inventory. So you kind of put all those in the description. You're starting to build a story that's pretty strong for your shopper. Okay, so we're going to get to our last segment here, and it's kind of been all building up to this. And this is how can we increase or keep quality and decrease time for fully merchandised online listings. So again, what is the impact of a fully merchandised online listing, and how can I increase online speed to market for online listings? Let's talk about both of those. So how do they perform versus incomplete listings? Talk about fully merchandised. This is like one of I think my favorite data point to throw out on the webinar, and it was from a LotLink study, and I thought it was extremely interesting. 81% of cars sold after receiving 30 VDPs in 30 days or less, compared to 65% of cars that received fewer than 30 VDPs in the same period. This single data point summarizes everything I wanted to talk to you guys about today. High quality merchandising earlier on in the cycle, because what you're going to see is that 30-day cycle does not start the first time that car makes it online. We talked about the calculation. We talked about holding costs. That starts on the first day you acquire the inventory. So the quicker you can start that 30 VDPs and 30-day counter, obviously that's going to equate to selling vehicles and vehicle turn. So really strong stuff there. So we took that down a level, and we started to ask dealers about this. And we said, okay, what is the impact of a fully merchandised online listing versus something that's incomplete? And we you know, the dealer and I and the team here use an average market price vehicle at $20,000 and kind of sum it up. Not revealing options, not revealing those installed option packages that really can add value to the car, could cost $1,000 to $2,000 in market value per vehicle. Not being able to advertise that and really justify and validate your pricing strategy, that could cost you. And a dealership selling 150 cars a month, which again is a medium, kind of a small franchise dealer, honestly, you're looking at $500,000 honestly, annually over that if you fail to even reveal those packages and those options that really drive the value of the price of that vehicle. We also found by talking to dealers that stores effectively merchandising, so kind of taking this methodology and bringing it into their dealership about merchandising vehicles earlier in the cycle, shooting a couple quick photos, getting a description automatically generated right when the car hits the inventory tool. Gross per unit increase of 10% compared to when they weren't adopting it on the new side, and 15% on the used side. So kind of a little bit of a before and after shot of taking into consideration fully merchandising the cars and getting them online as quick as possible. So let's move on. So how can you increase it, right? So just a common example to frame it up, won't spend a lot of time. Let's look specifically on the auction side. If you're in a wider state like I am in PA and have a lot of auction options, or if it's out of state, it could take 3 days for that car to be acquired and transported to the store. Might be a little bit less, might be a little bit more. Either way, you bring it into reconditioning. There's another 3 days. Again, a little bit less, a little bit more, depending on service traffic. And then finally, when it's ready, you got 4 days to get photos, a description, pricing, get that loaded up, and get that out online. So that's, if you look at it sequentially and do it that way, over half the audience in the poll said that, you got 10 total days. Think about hours and minutes that's costing you, and that's just on the auction side. So let's solve this problem. How do we solve it? How can we start to shave this stuff down? And I think it starts with understanding the flow of your inventory data. This is brand new information that we just pulled on the HomeNet side. I wanted to share it with you. Really interesting. So today, franchise dealers are using an average of 6 different sources, 6 different tools to prep a vehicle for online advertising. So to walk you through what those 6 may be, you could look at a DMS, you could look at a pricing tool, you could look at a feed of photos, you could look at one specific to vehicle descriptions. You also have a VINDA code, which is another source that needs to be initiated. Usually that's in your inventory tool, but it's another source of vehicle information. And then there is some level, at least, of manual entry, manual editing. So that's just one example of the average of 6 different sources. Once it's ready, they're sending that inventory data and photos to 21 online destinations on average. That's a 40% increase since 2010. We can spend probably a whole DealerOn webinar talking about why that's happening. But the point that we want to drive home here is there's several different sources to create an online listing. You're sending to more places online than you ever have before. So do you truly understand how these connections are being made? Is there a step in the chain of getting the vehicle for information from one of those 6 sources to one of those 21 online destinations that may not be necessary? Do you really understand, or is it a clouded mess of wires that data is going over on this tool and then going over to this one and then eventually making it to my website? Or do you understand the fact that if you can centralize that and really understand the data flow, take out those unnecessary links in the chain and really streamline how you're getting those cars out online? I mean, we talked about Tony before. He said 6 days. What happens if we bring it down to 4? I've seen dealerships clean this up and buy a day and a half just doing this. So this is just the first one that you kind of want to audit your data flow to make sure it's as streamlined as it possibly can. Then we jump now into the physical side, and I wanted to at least touch a little bit on reconditioning because obviously that's an element in the life cycle. Also, friends over Rapid Recon did a case study with the dealership, and just really interesting information here. This is about now improving reconditioning. Now, I want to spend a little time talking about this, but I don't, again, we were talking about it before, I don't want to let reconditioning kind of slow up the merchandising process. But again, we want to shave days off, we want to reduce time to market here. So reconditioning vehicles and getting them to the sales line 3 days faster, it realized for the case study that Rapid Recon did, over $290,000 in annual sales growth. They also found by using that dealer that 2.5 days shaved off recon equates to 1 additional inventory turn. So again, we're looking at examples on how we can shave it down. If we can improve processes there on the recon side, you're obviously going to get that number of days down and maximize that holding cost before online advertising. But there's a lot of factors there. On the service side, understandable. So let's not let that get in the way. Let's get back to the pre-recon photos. Let's get back into doing automatic vehicle descriptions at the moment the vehicle is ready for syndication. So that way we're not waiting on these things to get done. It may still take a little bit of time. We can always get better, but at least we're not letting that get in the way of merchandising. So that's a way to either improve the recon process or improve merchandising during the recon process. Didn't want to, have a webinar here without touching a little bit on mobile. We know that about 90% of internet sales managers use devices on the mobile side every day to conduct business. But what type of business are you conducting with the mobile device? Are you maybe doing 1 or 2 things specific to the applications of the providers that you're using? Is there more you can do? Can you actually bring that into your merchandising before the car is ready for the front line? Doing a quick data collection, capturing those elements you're seeing on the car, and telling a story with a vehicle description. Even doing a VIN code I've seen helps. So you get the car in off of a trade, you understand the car, do a VIN explosion, and you can start to see all the different equipment and all the different options on the car that can really help you later on tell the story. So just even understanding your vehicle using the mobile device will be helpful. And then obviously photo video capture. There's a lot of tools out there that can do that. And if you don't have one, you got your device. iPhone, Android, they can do their own photo and video. Capture that, again, earlier in the process. Shave that time off and use something that you already are using today. And then, finally, last one here is implement in-transit or pre-recon merchandising. Because, in transit, that's specific to auction vehicles. Shoot a couple quick photos at the auction or right when it gets through the lane. You want to do an image overlay. Didn't talk a lot about overlays today, but they're extremely important. That makes sure that you indicate to the shopper that more photos are coming soon or that it's en route to the dealership, and then how you're describing the vehicle. In your vehicle description, if you can see that there at the top, on its way to the dealership, call now to be the first to schedule a test drive. You're being transparent that it's on its way or that it's finishing up recon, and you're also providing a call to action for them to be the first one there to get into that car and obviously purchase that vehicle. So to kind of tie a bow on that, to go back to the calculation that we did, right? You think about maybe the first example here that I threw out there, the 10+ days, and you're looking at a 6 to 8 times per year inventory turn depending on volume. Then we start to talk about how you can understand your data flow, how you can understand how to use mobile, how to integrate better with Recon, how to talk about vehicles before Recon or before they're arrived at your store, and being able to do that. As you run through these processes here, the acquisition, the floor planning, detail, Recon, merchandising, and then transportation, inventory management, all those areas. We talk about how we can bring that down, and we bring that down to 3 days. You think about something like improved Recon, 2.5 days. You understand data flow, that buys you a day and a half. You start to do a little bit more on your mobile device, a little bit more pre-recon or in-transit merchandising. That brings it down. So you bring that down 5-6 days, all the way down to 3 days. And you see right there what that can do from an inventory turn per year perspective. So obviously it's important for marketing, but doing these, reducing online time to market, merchandising the cars with high quality is going to impact that bottom line. So that's what I have for content. I think we have one more poll question, Eliana, if we still have time.
We do. All right, audience, real quick. Let's put this last poll question up, and then we're gonna get to some prizes and some Q&A session and all kinds of good stuff. All right. So we want to know, how long does it take your dealership to get a car fully merchandised and ready for online advertising? Please select one of the following. Now, Russ, I just want to make sure we're not just talking about the reconditioning. We're talking about, hey, from the time you purchase the car to the time it's actually in front of online consumers ready to be sold, right?
That's exactly right. Yep.
Okay. So please select one of the following. Is it 1 to 5 days, 6 to 10 days, 11 to 15 days, more than 15 days, or, hey, it's possible you really don't know, all right? So once we get a majority of those votes in, oh, they're coming in fast. All right, audience. We're going to close this poll and share the results. And, okay, so how long does it take your dealership to get a car fully merchandised and ready for online advertising? Now, we already have some wonderful questions in the queue for our Q&A session. If you haven't gotten your question yet in for today's DealerOn webinar presenter, the brilliant Russ Daniels, get those questions in. We're going to get to them in just a couple minutes. We do have a few more really important and wonderful things to go over before we get to that Q&A session. For instance, one of those things is this poll question results. All right, Russ, I think it's time to close this poll and share the results. Have you had enough of your drink of water?
Yeah, good.
All right, here we go. Let's close this poll. All right, audience, thank you so much for your votes. Let's see what you had to say on this poll question. All right, 19% of today's audience say it only takes them 1 to 5 days to get a car fully merchandised and ready for online advertising. Wow, that's awesome. But the majority, 48% of today's audience, say it takes more like 6 to 10 days. A third of today's audience, 29%, say it takes 11 to 15 days. No one is admitting that it takes more than 15 days. We got a remaining 5% of today's audience who say, you know what, I really don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm going to look at it now that I've heard this. Okay, Russ, the average, I think you said, was 10 days, right?
Yeah, it depends on inventory. It's 7 to 10 I like to do because, dealerships come in all different shapes and sizes.
I gotcha. All right, so thank you so much, audience, for those answers. And Russ, where do we go from here?
Yeah, a couple quick housekeeping items here. You have the suggested resources. Everything that I referenced is there in the go-to webinar there, so you can download those. All of them are there. I've got other stuff as well, so feel free to reach out to me. I can try to dig up some more stuff. Those were the primary sources I used today. Action items, in case you were trying to frame up what we want to do next. So got 4 there. Walk you through them quick. Understand the earliest opportunity your dealership for capturing photos. 1 to 5 photos before recon is better than a stock photo. A lot better, and we had the data there to back that up. Work with whoever's handling inventory, whether you're doing it yourself or if there's someone, a lot service provider coming in and doing great work for you there. Make sure descriptions are automatically generating before vehicle advertising. Again, you can always go back and update it when you have time. We talked about in the poll question, right? Understand the total time in days, even hours. The real sharp ones are doing it in hours. It takes to get a vehicle fully merchandised and online. And then finally, understand your data flow. Understand the quickest path to getting a vehicle fully merchandised and online. So those are the 4 kind of action items. Want to run to some Q&A now, right, Eliana?
Yeah, we got a couple things to go over before that, but yes, we are going to do Q&A. So if you have a question for Russ Daniels on how to get your online marketing and advertising done even quicker than you think you're already getting it done now, hey, get those questions in because we want to help you, all right? Before we do that, though, got a couple things to tell you. First, I want to direct your attention over to the handouts section of the GoToWebinar interface. There is so much good stuff in there today. You're going to want to download all 5 of those handouts. Let me tell you what's in there so you can do it. Now, first thing I'm going to tell you is where to find the handouts. So go to your GoToWebinar interface and look kind of low on the interface for the word handouts. And it's kind of near the bottom. And there's probably a little triangle next to it. So what you want to do is you want to click on that little triangle. It'll open up. And inside there, you're going to see 5 different handouts available for immediate download. You're going to want to download all 5 of these. So first, of course, we have Russ's slide deck. So remember that cool calculator that he had in the beginning of the show? Yeah, that's in there. So we have Russ's slide deck that's available. And then Russ, please don't hesitate to step in and explain some more about these wonderful handouts that you gave us. We have an ebook on shopper reviews. We have the 2017 Power of Pictures study. Very cool. We have a multi-device best practices handbook. And we also have something from Car Story where they talk about the used car shoppers. Now, Russ, anything you want to say about any of those handouts or why they would be useful to today's audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So Power Pictures, if you're focused on photos, all the photo stuff, well, if maybe not all of it, but about 90% of it came from there, and it's very fresh data. So this stuff is changing really fast, guys. So you want to get the most updated stuff. So that's for that reason. When it comes to vehicle descriptions, look at the ebook, the shopper review ebook, and also go through the Car Story and the Auto Trader one. Even though they're getting a little bit older now, they still have really valuable stuff around descriptions.
Okay. All right. Now, audience, if you have any problem whatsoever downloading one or any of those handouts, please email me directly and I will help you out. Remember, you can always reach me at Eliana@DealerOn.com. Eliana@DealerOn.com. So if you need any of those, please write to me and let me know which ones or all of them, what all that stuff is. Okay. And I will get that out to you as soon as I can. But these are available in the handout section until the end of this broadcast. So please make good use of the time and start downloading them now. All right. And all right, Russ, are you ready? I don't have any game show music, so we're just going to have to go to the next slide. It's that time. If you missed it at the beginning of the webinar, I announced that our good friends over at HomeNet giving away such a cool prize today on the webinar. One lucky attendee is going to win a huge HomeNet swag bag. It's got all kinds of HomeNet goodies and tchotchkes and souvenirs. We got t-shirts and pens and mouse pads. And as I like to say, it's a basket full of HomeNet awesomeness. All you have to do is answer a simple question or two about the presentation that you just saw. So everyone get ready, get to your keyboards. First one to write in the correct responses will be walking away with this super cool prize today. Of course, we always have other vendors on our show. We love having vendors on our show. You're always welcome onto a DealerOn webinar. We are going to ask you to please sit this whole prize giveaway thing out. We are this prize is intended for dealership personnel only. All right, everyone, but thank you so much for coming. All right, everyone, here we go. Good luck. Now, I'm just going to preface this by saying, no, you didn't win, Tony. I'm going to preface this by saying this is actually a 2-part question. So we're looking for 2 distinct answers. Do not send me 2 answers 2 different times. You send me 2 answers on the same line. Okay, pals? No, that's not the answer, Tony. 2 answers.
Jumping ahead, Tony. You're jumping ahead.
I know. He's being premature. All right, here we go. 2-part question, looking for 2 answers. Here we go. Good luck, everyone. According to HomeNet data, on average, how many different sources do dealerships use to prep a car for online advertising? And how many sites are they sending inventory data to? Ooh, I can't believe how early somebody got this correct. Hold on, I got to scroll up here. No, the answer is not blue, Tony. Nice try. The correct answer, Alvin Olson. Alvin Olson, I don't recall ever seeing your name on here before. Alvin Olson, you are today's winner. Congratulations. Yes, let's see. On average, how many different sources do dealerships use to prep a car for online advertising? The correct answer was 6. And how many sites are they sending inventory data to? The answer was 21. Congratulations, Alvin Olson. First-time winner. I knew you were a first-time winner. Congratulations. By the way, first-time winner, you also need to let us know what dealership you're from so we can give you a proper congratulations. Right now, though, I am going to congratulate you on behalf of everyone and all of our friends over at HomeNet. I know they're all clapping for you. Alvin Olson, you have won yourself a really cool prize. It is a HomeNet swag bag filled with all kinds of HomeNet goodies. I'm going to need your mailing address, too, so we can get that out to you as quickly as possible. Alvin says he's with Red River Chevrolet. What part of the country are you in, sir? He's going to tell us any minute now. Well, while he's typing that in, oh, he's in Bossier City, Louisiana. Oh, I love Bossier City, Louisiana because of my girlfriend. Thank you so much for sending that in, Alvin. You are going to be getting your prize directly from our good friends over at HomeNet. Russ, you can turn on your webcam anytime you like. There he is. Okay, also want to let you know, audience, I know we only had one awesome prize today, but you know what? We give away cool prizes every week, so come on back to another DealerOn webinar, and that might be the day that you win a cool prize on a DealerOn webinar. For right now, we're going to congratulate first-time winner Alvin Olson from Red River Chevrolet in Bossier City, Louisiana. Congratulations. Hope you enjoy that prize, and, you know, you can always send your prizes directly to me if you need to get rid of them. All right, here we go. Russ, are you ready for some great questions from the audience?
Yeah. Do it.
All right, let's do it. I got to scroll up for this one. We had a lot of people that wrote in. Okay, I hinted at this one early on in the show. Dan had written in this great question. You kind of hit on it, but let's get Dan's question in so we can get your response on this. Okay, about photos and new vehicle prep. Our vehicle prep does not happen until the vehicle is sold. So in dealerships you've seen, are they adding an abbreviated prep and clean process before the photos are taken, or the more economical option of using stock photos? I'm not a fan of photos with plastic, sloppy-looking vehicles, but there is adding an additional prep before a photo process worth the associated cost. Okay, so Russ, actually walk us through this. You buy the car, and the car comes to the dealership, or is it even before the car comes to the dealership? When do you take the pictures, and when do you start prepping, and when do you send it off, and when do you do what? Is there a checklist?
I do my best to do a checklist. I mean, you know, the broad answer is it obviously depends on the inventory. So if you get a, you know, as I'm sure you're alluding to, sometimes you just get a car off from the auction or on a trade that's just, it's not ready for pictures, and you got to do a little bit of cleaning, a little bit of prep before you shoot photos. So I'd say use the best judgment there. You don't want to put something, you know, bad out there. I think the common example I use is, you know, you're on the auction lane and you see a condition report, and you're scrolling through the condition report and you see maybe damages of the vehicle in the photo. Really good for wholesale, not good for retail. So I kind of use your best judgment there as well, and say, okay, do I need to do a little bit of work before this car is ready? And is there a way I can take 2 to 3 photos and not focus on those areas? Is there a front right shot that doesn't hit on maybe the fact that it's dirty on the interior? There's just a couple photos I can take before it goes through that process. If the inventory unit warrants it, then yeah, absolutely. But yeah, sometimes you do have to do a little bit of cleaning and a little bit of prep. We do see that, and it is worth the time. I think that, and then if anybody's talking to you about just how much more valuable, go to that slide around photos where you look at a single photo versus a stock photo, single photo versus no photo, and the increases in VDPs, which is really what we're trying to drive with our online marketing. And you can tell that story to the people at your dealership.
Okay, great. By the way, Dan, if you have a follow-up question, I'd love to hear from you. And Alvin wrote in, what's the sequence of the events that you recommend? Is it recon, detail pictures, recon, or pictures, detail, recon?
Yeah, it's close. It's kind of, it's a combination of all of those. So it's pictures, detail, recon, pictures again.
Okay, got it.
That's the optimal case.
Got it.
Short set of pictures, then you run it through the detail reconditioning process, full set of pictures. If you can make that type of time investment, either from you at your dealership or if you have a company coming out and doing it, it's really powerful stuff.
Okay. And Tony wrote in, he said, just throw some soap and water on it. But he did say, Tony followed up with, prep it early and spot it. And then Dan did write back in with a follow-up question. He says he was referring more to new vehicles from the factory. Are those pictures, do they have to be of the actual car, or are those, factory pictures okay if it's brand new vehicle?
Classic debate. I guess that I would say that it is that stock photos. It kind of pains me a little, but stock photos are a little bit more okay on the new car side. It's a little bit more of a standardized, delivery of marketing messages. Where the used cars, you want to know a lot more about it, awards or mileage or different areas of the used car that make it different from another used car. Stock photos on new, it's more okay than it is for used, but I remember, this is a couple years ago now, I haven't followed up with this specific dealer in a while, but there's a dealer down in Florida that was taking a few quick real pictures right as the new car was coming off of the truck, and I don't remember the data off the top of my head, but they were seeing increases in inventory turn time and VDP clicks using actual photos of the new car, even right after they kind of tore it apart, got the car on the lot, and started to use real photos. So I would say stock photos are okay for new compared to used, but still try to go for a couple real photos of the car.
Okay, all right.
Think about it too. I mean, just one more thing on that. That's what a lot of the competing dealers are going to be doing. They're going to be using stock photos as well. There's just not a lot of different stock photos, so your inventory is going to look very similar to the other competitor selling that new car as well. So just another point there to differentiate yourself when you're marketing.
Okay. Dan, if you have a follow-up question, we're here for you. Okay, a couple other things. Tony did follow up with another comment. He says, we assume we sell every car as proof we have no new 1994 cars. But he also said, have you ever gone to Zappos and watched their shoe walk-around videos? He says, yes, they do shoe walk-around videos. That's another.
I have seen it, and I think there's parallels in our space too, Tony. I mean, I talked a little bit about those optimal shots that consumers want to see, and that speaks to, and which ones those are, which is them right there inside of the car in the driver's seat, speaks to them wanting to be more and more immersed in the actual experience of being in that car before they ever get there. So I think with Zappos doing a lot of the kind of 360 spins and stuff like that, we're starting to see that as a growing trend in the space, yeah.
Okay, yeah, and Tony's like, it's amazing that they would use a walk-around for a $50 pair of shoes. I mean, you would expect it with a $50,000 car, but, they do it for $50 shoes as well. So, all right, so it must work because Zappos they're pretty slick. Okay. Dan did write back and he says, thanks, Russ. Instead of stock, I'm going to try using the manufacturer vehicle customization tools to generate more realistic stock type photos if the new car really needs a lot of prep and clean to look presentable. Does that sound like a good plan?
Yeah, let me know how that goes, Dan. Shoot me an email a couple weeks after you deploy that process. I'd love to know what the activity looked like there.
I would love to know too. All right. Good luck, Dan. We wish you the best. All right. A few more things to go through, and then we'll start closing out this show. By the way, Russ, if you wouldn't mind, could you go forward a slide so people have all your contact information?
Absolutely.
That would be great.
I have a lot of screens going on here.
No, I know you do. I know you do. This way, people, you can see that he's going to be at the upcoming Digital Dealer Convention, and if you want to reach out to him, as you can see, he is awfully brilliant. So if you want to reach out to him and pick his brain about something having to do with inventory and getting it online and merchandised quicker, he's a phenomenal resource. Okay, let's see what we got here. Oh, Tony wanted to point out that there are state laws that mandate when a car can be offered for sale. So in his state, he calls it Wisconsin, hashtag the state of confusion, a vehicle must be safety inspected before being offered for sale by law. Yeah, love the government. So is there any ways around that?
Yeah, I mean, there's still some that have those laws in there, and this is about as far as I can take it, where it's about in-transit merchandising and that pre-recon merchandising,
right,
where you can get around some of those regulations if you disclose that the vehicle is en route to the dealership. So if you're just putting the vehicle up, maybe with a background of the photo, like it's in front of your dealership, when it's not, yeah, that can cause some issues. But in states like, we have a similar law in PA, but as you dig deeper into the regulation, as long as you disclose that it's en route to the dealership, you are okay. And we've seen that in a few other states as well. There's still some states that you do need to kind of possess the title and have the car be running through reconditioning before advertising. What I'll say to that is, what type of preparation can you do while the car is going through reconditioning, while you're waiting for the title? Can you get the photos ready, and when it does pass through all of those different elements that are required, is it still taking you 2 days after that, or can you get it in hours after that? So there's still some ways that you can drive efficiencies through doing that.
Okay. All right. Tony did say that he does, or his dealership does, 2 true videos on all used, and then 20 plus pics. And then it takes less than 10 minutes per car to do that. How do you get 2 videos in less than 10 minutes? That's pretty awesome. You must have some kind of strategy you're employing there, Tony. So thank you so much for giving us that information, and also for volunteering earlier on. We did have one of our attendees, Richard. He says, how can I get that Excel worksheet? So Richard, I would suggest reaching out to Russ Daniels and seeing if you can get it. Yes, it is in the slide deck, but the slide deck is a PDF, so I don't think that Excel spreadsheet is really going to help you out in that instance. So if you want to get your hands on that worksheet, it's russ.daniels@homenetauto.com. All right, let's see what else we have in here. Dan wrote back and he says, are there any dealers using virtual reality like Google Cardboard or even more expensive Oculus type technology to display vehicles? And in your opinion, is that worth the high cost?
Well, I think you think about like a product life cycle. You've got kind of ones that are in what I call breakthrough, and then growth, and then kind of maturation, and then depreciation. You got to look at different products and how they do that. I would definitely say that virtual reality in the automotive space is still in breakthrough, meaning it's still early adopters. It's not a widely adopted thing to do. Do I think it's going there? I think that it could. I think that it very well could. And I've seen a couple vendors that I just know personally have started to give it a try, and it's pretty cool. Is it worth the time investment right now? If you don't have the other elements I talked about in place and buttoned up, I would say no. You would want to get those in place first, and then if you want to try something unique like that, I think it would be good to try. But know that it's a growing trend in our space. Not even in our space, but just in technology. There's a lot of your Samsungs and your Sonys investing a ton of money in that type of technology.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Great questions. And it's funny, a lot of people are sending me links right now through the chat, and I actually can't do anything with those while we're in webinar, but thank you so much for sending them to me. I appreciate it. Dan sent me a couple different ones, and he says, I just generated these from Chevrolet Vehicle Customizer, and I do like it a lot more than the stock. So, we wish you the best of luck with that, Dan. All right. Follow up on VR. Are there any dealers you know of using it or not offhand? Okay, so that virtual reality. I mean, is it worth it?
Not off the top of my head, no. I mean, there could be that I talked to. I've never had a conversation with a dealer about it in terms of seriously ingraining it into their advertising. I have a feeling I'm going to soon, though.
Okay. Hey, if anyone out there is using virtual reality for their cars, write on in and just let me know. I'd love to know. All right. So thank you so much for that, Dan. Let me see. Oh, we have this question from, well, I think it's from Bruce. Bruce says, I think it's from Bruce. It just says B. I'm pretty sure his name is Bruce, though, but we'll see. Okay. Bruce says, we got a lot of good feedback on our pictures when we started showing some interior pics early on in the rotation. We posted interior pics on the 3rd and 4th shots instead of making them click through 6 to 10 in exterior shots, which seems to be the standard. Why not show them good interior pics early on? Dude, I am with you. Because like I said, I know what the outside looks like, and I know you have to have that first picture so that people see the outside of the car. But after that, I don't know what the inside of the car looks like unless I see it in a parking lot and I peer through the window. So I want to see those interior pics. I'm with him. But you say, I mean, is there really that recipe for success of showing all the exterior pictures and then showing all the interior pictures? Or is it just like a, hey, try it out, do an A/B testing and see if it works for you?
A/B testing is good if you have the time. I mean, no, I mean, the data that I showed you doesn't really get into you have to have 5 exteriors first.
Right.
That's just an order of best practice that we push.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually with both of you as well, and I think that if I'm looking at a vehicle, I do want to start with the exterior. I want to maybe look at the driver's side, maybe full front, front on the vehicle, and then show me some interior shots if the vehicle warrants that. If there's some interesting things in there, let's just get right to it. So yeah, I'm with you, B. I think that keep that going. That's great.
Okay, I like it too. B, thank you so much for the great statement. Okay, couple things and then we'll start closing out the show. Tony wrote back in, he says, if you disclose that you don't have the car in hand, then what do you do afterwards once you do have it in hand and you've assessed it? Then you redisclose after the recon?
Yeah, I kind of just, what I always say is snap it back into retail mode. Like, you don't have to say now it's here. If it's here, you just treat it like you do all the other new and used car inventory that you have. So it's kind of like you disclose that it's in transit, and then when it's no longer in transit, just treat it like a standard retail car that you're merchandising.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Tony. And Russ, great answers. Okay. I have one last comment, and then we will start closing up the show. Are you ready, Russ? This one
I hope so. I think I'm ready.
This one comes in from Sharpie. He says, I have literally agreed with everything Russ has said. That fact alone just shows how smart he is.
You're the smart.
There you have it. You're a pretty bright guy. I already knew that, but if Sharpie says it, then it must be true too. So, Russ, thank you so much. Show number 4, a success as well. Mr. Daniels, thank you so much for visiting us from HomeNet. I hope it won't be long before I get you on the show again. Always a pleasure to have you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Eliana.
Thank you so much. Okay, I want to remind the audience that a link to download a copy of this webinar recording is going to be emailed to you in a little bit. Yeah, we've recorded this for you. Please feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues. Today's webinar is also going to be posted online within 24 hours. So just go to dealeron.com/webinars to view our upcoming webinar schedule or access any of our past webinars too. And yes, this webinar is going to conclude in just a moment. And when it does, you're going to be asked to participate in a very short survey. It is 3 questions, people. I need you to answer those questions. So please fill it out. We're always looking for quality feedback from our audience. We want to know what you thought of today's presentation. It would really help us out. By the way, I am going to be going to the 3rd annual Women in Automotive Conference. I'm the host. Can you believe it? Yes, I'm going to be emceeing the event for the 3rd year in a row. This amazing event is July 9th through the 11th in Orlando, Florida, and it is incredible. We're focused on training and retaining women in our industry to improve their skills, advance their careers, find the highest levels of success. Really, it's kind of a misnomer to say women in automotive. We want to know, are you a woman in automotive? Then you should come. Do you sell to women? Do you sell cars to them? Then you should come. And do you have women who work at the dealership? Guess what? You should come as well. That's who we're after, all right? So that's what this whole conference is about. It's only in a couple weeks. I'd love to see you. To find out more about the Women in Automotive Conference, please visit womeninautomotive.com. I hope to see you there. And DealerOn is going to be in Philly, July 10th through the 12th for the 10th Internet Sales 20 Group. Maybe you should come too. This year, Greg Gifford, DealerOn's own Greg Gifford, he's at it again. He's going to be providing major insights to the world of local SEO for dealers. He's just one out of 22 powerful speakers that's going to be there. If you want to learn more about what's working for top performers in automotive, then check out internetsales20group.com. And people, pay attention now. Invitations are going to be going out for next DealerOn webinar, where an expert from Google is going to discuss Google's automotive retail dealer playbook. I know, this is serious stuff. Google just launched its first ever automotive retail dealer playbook. What does this mean for you? Well, to put it bluntly, every dealer needs to know about Google's automotive retail dealer playbook. I'm not playing. we're not messing around. For such an important topic, we've invited an expert from Google to give us all the details. In this jaw-dropping 1-hour webinar, Kelly McNerney, Senior Automotive Retail Strategist for Google, is going to discuss the first of its kind Google release. The Automotive Retail Dealer Playbook was written specifically to show dealers exactly where opportunity exists and provide Google expertise on what dealers should master next. This session will go through the playbook in detail and explain best practices for dealers in search, video, display advertising, everything. Attendees will also leave with a checklist of what to ask your agency, as well as all the tools you're going to need to make sure your website is #1. So if you're ready to master the fundamentals of dealer advertising on Google platforms, then I'm just going to let you know this is an hour of automotive awesomeness you cannot miss. This is a must-see presentation, so register now, and don't forget, DealerOn's weekly webinars are held Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions regarding our webinars and our topics, feel free to contact me directly. Again, my name is Eliana Raggio, and I'd love to hear from you. So you can track me down online, Facebook, Twitter, Google+. I'm everywhere. I'm on all the automotive social networks. Or you know what? You can just email me directly at eliana@dealeron.com. Thank you all so very much for spending this time with us today, and I hope to see you all on another webinar in DealerOn's continuing education series. Take care, everyone, and enjoy the holiday weekend.